Tony Stark was deleted from the Black Widow script, and sharks have gone woke. And we have a special guest with us this morning, and I can't say her name. All that and more on Midnight's Edge in the Morning. Wow, I hit the wrong button. Greetings, everybody. Welcome to Midnight's Edge in the Morning. It's Friday. It's the end of the week. We made it. We made it through another week. We're like, what, officially halfway through the year now?
Yeah, I think something like that. Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah.
We're in the middle of July. I think that's the middle of the year. So that other voice you hear, of course, is all the way from Norway. That's Andre the Boss Man. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you. It's a lovely sunny day in Norway. None of the mudslides that we have further south in Europe. So here, all is well, and our thoughts go to those that aren't quite so lucky. But yes, as Rick Lucy is pointing out, it is today my pleasure to introduce someone you all know from the chat. Those of you who are members will have seen her before. Those of you who follow our good friend Robert Meyer Burnett will also have seen her before. But to everyone else, it is my pleasure to introduce Rrrr Mmm.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Andre and Tom, for having me today.
Well, thank you for being here.
Pleasure's ours. And I got to now I get to listen to Andre say that a lot more than he normally does.
Yes, it's gonna be funny. It's gonna be a fun show. And we have many people joining us here. Accidental Tourist even says proof there are women in the chat occasionally.
Yes.
Actually, we have a very high component of female viewers, I should say. We have quite a few female members and regulars and everything. So yeah, no, this is nothing unique, but it's unique that we have Rrrr Mmm joining us. So that is brilliant, and we have
You're
many
getting a
others
lot of love from the
joining as
chat
well.
here, yeah.
Yes, exactly. Multiverse even says, "Holy, be legendary." So,
Yes.
Oh yeah, and Second Rodeo also points out, here.
This is why I don't believe what's her face's story when she's like, I used to go into comic book shops with my brother and they would kick me out because I was a girl. It's like bullshit.
I've never been kicked out of a comic book shop. I've been doted over in a comic book shop. I've seen other women working in comic book shops, so that's just very, very hard to believe.
Yeah, usually like if a woman walks into an area where there's a couple of nerdy guys, it's like, oh shit, suck it up.
Yeah, it's like suck in the stomach, try to be a gentleman, and how can we be of assistance, madam? That's
yeah, and if you say that, tell me more
reaction.
about this, oh, you're going to get an earful, because that's what I don't get, where everybody's like, oh, there's a gatekeeping. Have you ever talked to a nerd and brought up something they're into?
Yes. And there's no gatekeeping whatsoever. Comic book shops have always been welcoming, and they're fun to go into because you can start just having conversations. You don't even have to buy anything. That's something that I always liked, is that you could start up a conversation about whatever genre that you love. And, there's someone in there who loves it too. It's all part of the fun.
Exactly.
Now, granted, I will say some of us can be dickholes, and we love to point out, well, that's not true. And it's this and that. But, that comes across sometimes, I'm sure, is a bit off-putting, but no.
Yeah, well, those people have issues anyway. And you can
exactly.
Social a mile away, and they are typically the outsiders, even within the community of outsiders.
Exactly. So, and as House of Trades points out, she's talking to one now, as in me, probably. So there you go. We want to thank all of you for being here this morning. It's been an interesting week, and I didn't get to watch Space Jam 2, Andre. I overslept. I was going to get up and watch that this morning just to see how bad it was.
Well, what the hell for? I'm not asking you to see
I know
that.
You didn't ask me to, but our good buddy Matthew Kadish has a short review of it. He says, funny, R. Kelly wasn't in this movie, but I still feel molested.
Well, yeah. That's good stuff. But
before
we get into more of what we have seen and not seen, and what's been on the news and not been in the news, first we have to greet the rest of our audience. Troy Pacelli is here, and he liked my reaction of why you were watching that movie. So, yeah. Silver Nova also thought that was funny. And Lord Todd, yeah, this is actually great. What the hell for? It's the best quote so far for that movie. Maybe we should do a review now, and we call it that.
Well, I kind of already know it's the same movie. It's the same fucking movie. So
yeah.
I'm just curious if it was true what I heard about the cameo and all this other stuff and a few other things. Other than that, I'm just like, I know what to expect.
Yeah.
It is getting horrid reviews on Rotten Tomatoes already. So
yeah, color me surprised. And then we have the Ghost DS here. We have Erik Runge Madsen here. Lord Trinon is here. Henok Gebregeris is here. Now I know he's from Sweden, so we have a pretty strong Nordic component as well, which is awesome. And Stephen Otten says, "Hail Andre! Rrrr Mmm. Tom, Wrenches, and chat. I've been off the grid this week, but I'm doing fine. Looking forward to the debriefing. Yeah, I saw others appreciate that as well. So today, since it's middle of July, middle of the year, Hollywood is mostly on vacation. So, yeah, it's a slow
we did get a few
news day.
things, though. Like James Mangold spoke out finally. Did you hear?
Yeah, I heard that. He claimed that he hadn't accused anyone of being a basement dweller until Matt Cadish pointed out. That's literally the first thing you told me.
Oh yeah, he made himself look like a complete fucking tool in that interview.
Here's
talk about making it worse.
If you first have put your foot in the mouth, there's really nothing more you can say, because everything you say is just going to bring it up, and you're just going to stick your foot in the mouth some more. So, yeah, but we have, some minor news. We'll get into all of those. First, I want to do these super chats so I can get them up on screen. Troy Pacelli says, "Happy Friday." Rrrr Mmm. Oh, and you guys too. So, yeah. Eisenhower not completely forgotten. And then we have the last millennial who says for $2.99, "Hello. Rrrr Mmm. Glad to meet you. Hope you're doing well. Are you doing well?" Rrrr Mmm.
I am doing very well, thank you.
While we look for more super chats, why don't you tell us again the story of the name Rrrr Mmm? What motivated it?
Yes. I wanted to create a name that you had to use some sort of physical effort to pronounce, but also express an emotion at the same time. And I always love rolling R's. I think rolling R's is very sexy, and is a sign of you finding something appealing or appetizing. So that's how I came up with the name.
Fitting.
Brilliant. Who does best at pronouncing it?
Oh, I've been asked this question so many times. Honestly, I think I love the way you pronounce it, Andre. Tom, I love the way you pronounce it too. So, it depends on the person's mood when they're pronouncing it, how well it comes out. So, I don't want to necessarily say one person is better than the other. I'm going to be diplomatic about it.
It depends. Well, I'll accept it if you said Andre anyway, because it all depends on when I'm saying it and how I'm. Because if I just sit there, I'm like, like I used to.
It's all in the.
Now I just try to copy your Andre. So it's
it's all in the attitude. That's correct.
Yeah, exactly.
If you couldn't tell, I'm a bit of a mimic.
And then getting caught up on the super chats, the classic.
Darius is upset that that's not her real name.
No. I'm sorry. It's not.
Sorry, Andre. You had a super chat on screen there, though.
Yes, of course. We have some more we can get up. But first, Cultured Casino says for $5, "Show me the fun." The Last Millennial says for $2.99, "Hello, Rrrr, glad to meet you." Yeah, we got that one already. And then we had Darius Münchhausen sent us a popcorn super sticker, so thanks so much for that. STR Red Wolf says, "NPR's review of Space Jam 2 declared it a double vanity movie on LeBron James and WB's side. In other words, not worth the money nor attention. So yeah, that's harsh words. And Durao On says, I am a female as well. Enchanté. Rrrr Mmm. Bonjour, Midnighters. Vive le Tom and Andre. So, merci beaucoup.
Quit swearing at me.
I had no idea that Durao On was female as well, but there you go. That's what I'm saying. We have a wonderfully diverse viewership in absolutely every way, which is the best kind of diversity, and we are here united by things that we like, or by things that we are annoyed by, but at least we're annoyed by it from a point of love. So that's good. And then we had, let's see, Spider Unlimited says, great start to a great weekend, indeed. And also, I saw Valiant Renegade saying hi in here, and I just have to say congratulations on hitting 1,000 subscribers.
Yes.
Well earned. So for those that haven't checked out his channel yet, go and check out Valiant Renegade. And with that, and Canadian Spider-Man says hail, and yes, hail one, hail all. So with that, Tom, what has happened this week? What has happened today? Maybe we can start with the most recent news. We had James Mangold sticking his foot in his mouth again.
Yeah, we brought that up.
We covered that a little bit already. Did he stick his foot in the mouth some more?
No.
Or was the rest pretty much like mundane?
Kind of, I mean, really, it was just more of this, like, same, like what you were saying, basically. He should have just kept his mouth shut. I believe he was talking to, I think it was either Cinema Blend, I think it was, or Cosmic News. I can't remember. I think it was Cinema Blend. And he was just basically saying, oh, I didn't attack any fans, and I never called anybody a basement dweller and all this kind of stuff. It's like, yeah, you're doubling down on the stupid now. Just stop. Because as we've been saying, you know, like, you really just should have kept your mouth shut to begin with, and doing this is not making it any better. And especially right around the same time, they just announced a new cast member to join Indiana Jones 5, which actually got a lot of people excited.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I'm curious to hear what you thought of this new casting news, and you can go ahead and introduce it to those who may not know who we're talking about.
Well, I sure hope we're talking about the announcement that Antonio Banderas is supposed to be joining Indiana Jones as a cast member, and I'm absolutely delighted to hear this. You know, I've always loved Harrison Ford. Now we're going to have Antonio Banderas. I don't think it could get any better than this.
You know, it's when I heard that news yesterday, I'm like, wow, that makes so much sense. And I've even heard people kind of compare him to Sean Connery, which is like, yes, which is why, like, I brought him up for Highlander. I'm like, he should play Ramirez in the remake. But then the funny thing about this, though, is if you read the article announcing this, they don't have any real information on his character. We know very little about the movie. We only know, to my point right now, that I know of is we mainly know just kind of certain plot elements that have leaked. There's a lot of stuff out there that I'm not sure if it's just, you know, to try and throw us off or it's true. But we do know that,
well could be. It could be some element of fake information designed to throw off.
Yeah, but we have a pretty good idea who Mads Mikkelsen's kind of playing. We know it takes place during the Apollo 11 mission. So there's those kind of things we have going on. We have been told that something Indy screwed up in the past, you know, comes to haunt him in his future, which would be our past, but you know what I mean. So it's all these kind of things wrapped together. But then they announced this character. They don't announce a character, but they announced that Antonio Banderas is going to be co-starring along with Harrison Ford. And they set him up in the announcement as the second listed actor above Phoebe Waller-Bridge. So that makes me wonder: is he going to be playing like his sidekick throughout this film, like almost like a Marcus character or something like that? What do you think, Andre? I mean, there's quite a few people who have some ideas of who he could be playing or what type of character, but I'm really curious to hear about what you and Rrrr think about it. Yeah,
I hope so, because Antonio Banderas is sheer awesome, and you can never have enough Antonio Banderas in a movie. I mean, he brings so much charm whenever he goes. Like his first English language movie, he didn't even speak English. He learned his lines phonetically, and then he had to learn English afterwards, because he got the role anyway, because he's just like the right man for the role, and he's so charming, and he has like that suave element to him. At the same
He
time,
even
as
makes
he has
animated
great
bees
comedic
sexy.
timing. He has great comedic timing as well. So, like, he's charming, he's suave, he's a comedian. You can't go wrong with Banderas. So,
Yeah.
and let's just face it, this movie's probably going to need all the good luck it possibly can need. So, I say bring it. Then they have Mats Mikkelsen, they have Antonio Banderas. They're going to have a really strong supporting cast right there. Good. This makes me more excited.
It does, and I was too, especially hearing that he's going to be one of the co-stars. What did you think when you heard about it?
I was very excited. I kept like sort of looking online to see whether there were more articles about it, to see if this was just a one-off or someone was joking about it. And I'm just incredibly excited for it. And I almost want him and Indy to be rivals somehow. You mentioned that it was something that came up from his past that he has to rectify or make right, or whatever it is, maybe a fight over a woman or something like that. So, I hope that it does become sort of like this power play between the two of them. I'm not sure what it will be, but that's what I'm hoping for, because we certainly don't want Antonio Banderas to be, a more conservative character. I want to see some sex appeal in the character that he brings forward, because we all want to see sex appeal from Antonio Banderas. He's wonderful, and he creates that sensuality in the film, and I think it could use it. I think Vorpal
Bunny's revenge is right here. He's going to play Old Round. No, I'm kidding. There's some historical reasons why he might be in the film that people have brought up, that I'll allow other people to get into, because I don't know as much about it, and I'll probably sound like an idiot. So, but other than that, no, as Valiant says here, I need to see John Rhys Davies in this movie. I don't know if we will, but I have a feeling that's kind of the role that Antonio will be playing, is something like that, like the sidekick kind of role.
Yeah, someone that serves that purpose in the story. Yeah.
Yeah, and here's the thing is, yeah, and I don't mean to make him sound demeaned by saying sidekick, but you know what I mean, like his backup. And I bring this up for a reason, because Script pointed out last night, and other people, and I agreed with him, these casting things, they happen and we don't hear about them until they either show up on the calling sheet or somebody sees them or whatever. It just happens to be. But this was an official announcement. This is official. This was in Deadline. It was an exclusive. So this is not like, right, sources say anything like this is a speculation bullshit. No, this is official. He is in the cast. They just have not told us who he's playing yet. I found it a little ironic, though, because they're already this long into filming, and like I just said, and I pointed out, it's not abnormal to not hear about certain cast members till way after the fact. To me, though, to bring in somebody like this and not bring them up right away, and to kind of hide it, and I got to bring this up, Andre. Do you feel, and I'm just positing here and speculating, so don't anybody run to the bank like I got any kind of insight to this. I don't. But do you feel like maybe this was a last-minute addition to try and get this movie done because they had to give all the action scenes to somebody? Do you get what I'm at?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I don't think so. It could be.
It could have very well been. I don't know.
I don't think it's like, oh my God, we need someone to do action. Who can we get? No, I don't think so. I think that either he has been in the running for a long time already, only recently announced it now, is that now he may be about to film scenes, or they just locked it down. Like, they don't need all the actors at the same time and everything. I don't think that there's like anything nefarious about it. It could be, but I don't think so. As you said, we have this way too often that someone is announced in the middle or even after production. I mean, typically when something like this is announced, the actor or actress in question have frequently already filmed their part and are off the set already by the time it's announced.
Very true. So like I said, I'm not saying that couldn't be the case, and it most likely is, but it just feels odd to me And I could see it being like some smaller character they had, and then like, oh, we got to figure out how to do this because he's hurt. And this movie is still set to come out in a year from now, not 2 years from now, a year from now.
It's not impossible that there have been like some last minute rewrites to beef up another part.
That's what I was thinking.
That it's not impossible. It's not outside the realm of possibility. But it wouldn't be like the first place where my mind leaps, because stuff like this happens all the time. It's just that this happens to be a production that so far has been extremely troubled. So it's very natural to think along those lines. But to quote Sigmund Freud, sometimes a pipe is just a pipe.
Yes, and again, I won't be surprised if that's the case. But my big thing is if we go to this movie and he's doing all the action scenes, then I think I'm right. He's like, hurry up and do that for me, whatever his name is. You got to get me out of here. Or what? Yeah, if he's the one doing all the major action, then it's like, okay, clearly that's what this was for, so they could get the movie done and out. Because, yeah, this is like the biggest movie that's being shot right now, outside of maybe Spider-Man, which is done. And I can't think of anything else that's really in production right now that's this big. Avatar maybe, but even that I still say
they also just recently quit filming the Black Adam movie. Filming on that also concluded earlier this week, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought they just started. See, there we go. That's
but here's like the thing, that as it is right now, the weeks and the months, they kind of just go by, don't they, without you really feeling the passage of time. But it's been a couple of months since production started, and now it's ended. I'm sure there's going to be pickups and stuff, but But yeah, so that's something else that happened this week.
And it looks like Antonio Banderas also posted about it on his Instagram. Paulie sent that to me. I can send him the link if he's not busy.
He already has it, but you're
welcome. Oh, if he already has it, then don't worry. Yeah, come on in if you want to, Paulie. But yeah, I'm excited about this news. It's one of the few things I have been excited to hear about, especially after Mangold pulled what he did. And because I was talking about this last night with Andy Signor, and we both were on the same page. It's like, look, you should have just kept your mouth shut, because now you're stuck in a situation, as I brought up before. Like, all you had to do was make a movie that was better than Crystal Skull. That's it. That's all Mangold had to do. Just go in there, make something where everybody walks out and goes, that was better than Crystal Skull. Now he has to make a movie that's as good as the first three, because he went and put his foot in his mouth, and he's like, well, wait till you see the movie and all that kind of crap. And he didn't do it diplomatically enough to where if the movie at least bombed, he could have been like, well, I tried. No, now it's going to be all on him if this thing sucks. It's going to be completely, he's going to be under the spotlight the whole time. Nobody's going to worry about Kathleen Kennedy now, because he's the idiot who went out there and made a public display.
Yeah, pretty much. And in terms of, and when you screw up the way that he has done, really, there's nothing you can say. There's nothing you can say to make it better. All you can do is wait for the next news cycle, for when you have an actual story to put out there, and then talk about that. So that's really the only way to deal with stuff like that.
Honestly, Alex, this is the best hope we can hope for, is that it is basically Indiana Logan, because then at least it hopefully pays some respect to the character. Because whether you liked or didn't like Logan, because I know some people just didn't like it because it wasn't enough like the comic book, but I felt, hey, it was a great homage to the character and a great send-off and all that kind of stuff. So I felt like it did him justice anyway.
Yeah. Do we have any other news beyond Mangold?
Yeah, we did. For those who've been keeping up with it, there's been just tons of the whole MCU thing. Okay, like I gotta get, before we get into this, since we don't get to talk to you too much on stream, what is kind of your take on this whole idea of Marvel going down this dark path right now? What do you see it, or are you seeing it at all,
or maybe you don't even see it as a dark
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I see it as an experimental path, because they don't want to do the same stuff that they've done over and over again for the past 10, 15 years. And I think that they almost have to do something different. You know, I hear time and time again fans saying that they want something new. They want, you know, something that's original or more original than what we've been seeing. And even if, you know, what they're producing isn't what you're expecting, it is very different. And I think that it takes guts to go ahead and put something out like that that isn't like what we've seen in the past.
Have the fans really demanded things be so incredibly different, though?
I mean, in regards to having new stories and having, you know, original IP creations. So since that's not what they can do, they're working with pretty much the same characters. And in order to make it fresh, in order to make it appear as if it is something new and different, they had to go ahead and do an experimental sort of approach. So I think, you know, that's what we've been seeing, you know, over these past few months or so.
Yeah. Well, before we get into this part of the story, Andre, let's grab a couple of these super chats because some of them have to do with Indiana Jones, like this one. I try not to laugh. Spider Unlimited, Indiana Jones, and the shark interaction of 1969. For those who may not be in on the joke, wokeness has not stopped at just politics and entertainment now, folks. It has entered the animal kingdom. There's a bunch of scientists and people who are officially trying to change the term shark attack to something less offensive, I guess, for lack of a better word, like shark interaction. Yeah, and like Six said, oh, damn, don't get Tom going on this. Yeah. But we had some great shit coming last night, so check out Mead for a lot of fun on that. But yeah.
Before we move on, like Tom, you've already had your say, but
yeah, let's hear what you
had. Have you had any shark interactions that you want to share with the audience?
Candygram.
I have not, thank God. You know, but I was going to say this is Shark Week, and a lot of people are watching Shark Week. And you know, recently there was a sideshow figure of a shark that I saw last night on the sideshow preview. So you know, it's kind of a hot topic right now.
Like just a shark, or like the Shark Bruce?
I think it's the shark, but it, you know, it's not a fully articulated figure, but it was premiered or showcased at the Sideshow Showcase. So, and a lot of people were very interested in the figure. And I think that, you know, sharks are hot right now. William Shatner was on during Shark Week. And I think that if scientists want to go ahead and rename a shark encounter or a shark attack, it's going to confuse a lot of people out there who find themselves confronted with a shark in the ocean.
Right? Yeah. Let's ask those who have actually dealt with the shark population. How do you feel about changing the term shark attack to shark interaction? Like, fuck you. I lost a leg. Felt like an attack to me.
Yeah. Otherwise, I will also just like to say that that avoiding negative shark interactions should be fairly easy. I mean, sharks generally don't fare where you are, so like just don't. If you like, seldom is the saying, if you don't bother them, they won't bother you, more true than in the case of avoiding shark interactions, negative or positive.
Well, the thing that bothered me about the whole thing, not to go too deep into it, but like, look, I get it. There less people get attacked by sharks, and I even had some idiot go on some diatribe about this in the chat in the comments last night, and I'd said all this in the show, so clearly if they had watched it, then they wouldn't have had to go through this entire thing. But like, yeah, the odds of you dying from a shark are so minimal that I can understand.
I would say that depends, though. But
well, I mean, compared to, you know, the things that people die of every day. You know, like the odds of you being killed by a shark compared to 100 other million things in the ocean.
Yeah, obviously, but like if you go and seek out an interaction with a shark, that's when that. Or if you just happen to find yourself where the sharks are. So I just imagine that, I've never tried surfing myself, but it has to be pretty freaking incredible because surfers they have like negative interactions with sharks all the time, and still the surfers keep coming back for more.
Well, the point I was getting to,
really amazing.
The point I was trying to get to, though, is like, I get it. There's this stigma that's been going on since way before Jaws that, you know, sharks are these dangerous things, which they are. Let's not beat around the bush. And that's why it's called a shark attack when the motherfucker attacks you. But they're trying to act like, oh, well, the shark didn't know it was you. It's like, well, duh. It never did. It's eating. It's a machine. It does what it does. Just like Richard Dreyfuss said.
Yeah, no, it didn't know that it was you, the unique and special individual. It knew it was something edible, though.
Exactly my point. All it knew, it was something round, poly, and full of blood and meat. It's like, I'm gonna try it. So I just thought this whole thing was stupid. I mean, I get where they're coming from. They're like trying to take down this whole like stigma of sharks and shit like that. But at the same time, I don't see that as a problem outside of people going out and killing sharks en masse. Like, that's the only thing I see as a problem, right? Outside of that is you should be afraid of sharks. You should stay the fuck away from sharks. It's like, what is next? We're going to change it to tiger interaction?
But then does it mean that when a shark has an interaction with another animal and eats it, is that also not an attack now? That's lunch. The eating just happened as an aside.
Yeah, but if there were no activists there to see it, did it really happen?
Now you're asking the real questions.
Yes.
And with that, I think I don't think we can answer it any better than that. Yeah. Stephen Otten, did you get this one, Andre? I don't think we did. No, $5. Question is, how much of the movie will Harrison Ford actually be in? Some have been reporting that it will be mostly CGI'd into the movie. That's another thing, but you got to remember, you have your main star who got injured right away, and it's not an injury that he'll get over in a couple weeks or they can really work around, like when he hurt himself on The Force Awakens.
We've seen him up walking, so
walking is one thing, but you'd be able
what it is. But I would imagine that whatever stunts that they had, I still think we're going to get those scenes, but with the double, and
which they would have been anyway,
with them gluing Harrison Ford's head onto it. I just hope they do a hell of a lot better job gluing Harrison Ford's head onto the stunt double than they did with Olga Kurilenko as Taskmaster in the Black Widow movie.
Yeah, and that'll actually get us back on task with the story at hand. But I also want to grab the rest of these super chats that we can and get caught up if we can, at least for the most part. Dash Deese, you were missed last night, buddy. There was people asking for you. Was it a SJW moment when Indy came out of the fridge? That was way ahead of its time. Yeah, they tried to fridge Indy, but he wasn't.
No. That was the kind of negative shark interaction that we had in film.
Now. I'm going to see if I can find this, but yeah, like, we'll go on and get the rest of the super chats here, Andre.
Yeah, some older ones that I have on my screen here. Valiant Renegade says, morning, and thanks, Andre and Tom. Oh, pleasure. Like, you have a great channel going there. So everyone, go check out Valiant Renegade. And Stephanie Janishek's Smuggler's Cantina says, picking up my new elliptical machine. And hi, Rrrr Mmm. So yes, well, awesome. Enjoy that machine. Should be cool. And then most recently, we missed some in between. We'll get to them. Technical Chat says for $5, I'd rather deal with a shark interaction than a shart situation.
And you know what? The fear of this is that, the next thing you know, they'll be saying, well, you instigated this interaction.
Yeah, that's where I'm getting to. It's like, it's not like the shark knows any different anyway. I get that. But like, you're not making anything better. You're not changing anything. But yeah, Artist Azevius, or however you say his name, I really apologize if I'm saying it wrong. I've been on a few streams with him. He's a good dude. He did this. This is hilarious. I mean... I could have done this too, but still.
Nice one. Very, very nice.
This made me laugh quite a bit. So yeah.
That should be like the name of the Jaws remake, Negative Interaction.
Well, no, I don't know if Yeti Cass is listening yet, but I'm going to give him the idea because he does these recuts of trailers. I'm like, you got to recut the Jaws trailer now to where Quint and Richard Dreyfuss and Brody are the bad guys and the shark is the victim. And they just keep chasing him down and won't leave him alone.
And Accidental Tourist says for $5 Canadian, hey, even sharks get sick of seafood. Let them enjoy some turf once in a while. Yeah, exactly.
And I'll tell you what, this is why I won't eat anything that can eat me. It's bad karma.
And as well, some would say that's revenge, but
Depends
I
on
don't
if
know.
it attacked me first. Then I would. Oh, I mean, interacted with me. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. SDR Red Wolf says, bitten/killed by a shark equals shark attack. Shark allowing you to pet it equals shark interaction. But what is jumping the shark?
Oh, very good
Well,
question.
that's the kind of interaction that Indiana Jones did the moment he stepped into that fridge.
Yeah.
Yes, and for those who don't know where the historical significance of that comes from, it's Happy Days when Fonz decided he was going to hop over a shark tank with a motorcycle, and one of the producers said, "Are we really going to do this? Are we really jumping the shark?" And since then, the phrase was coined.
Yeah. There you go. And also, Sander Hammerslag pointed out that how dangerous are sharks? Tom will test it by swimming in a tank full of sharks tonight. So, yeah. Bat Tom and surf sharks all around. So, yeah. Luckily, sharks are special to us here, aren't they? Sharks of all varieties. And Erik Runge Madsen also points out that sharks gonna shark.
Yes.
Yeah, you can't really blame them. Yeah. And Dread Pirate Mickey says, usually young sharks mistake humans for seals. You know, I have never really bought into that. I don't think that that the sharks are even conscious, like, seal in front of me. I think they're more like, meat of some variety in front of me. Let's test it and see what it is.
Or
that's my personal view on it.
Or they're just wondering what you're doing there. You know, we don't live in the ocean. We go in occasionally, but you know, we don't live there, and they're wondering what you're doing there. So I think that's, if anything else, is more like what they're thinking about. But I sure hope they don't mistake us for that. I hope that's not the case.
Well, it would really suck though if you like afterwards. Oh, sorry, you're not the seal afterwards. Or in case of a surfer, no, sorry, you're not the turtle afterwards. Sorry, I took your arm, but just had to be sure. And also on that note, Pilgrim Media says people usually bleed out after a shark attack. And yeah, if you're really unlucky, I mean,
yeah. Well, I brought up that point too, but yeah, anyway.
Well, their teeth are so long, right? The teeth are very long and sharp, so that's.
Well, actually, yeah, the teeth absolutely are, and some are jagged. That's going to depend on the. I've seen Shark Week before, so I'm something of an expert. Having seen Shark Week back in the 90s when Discovery was actually good. But really, more is like the mouth size, and then the teeth. The one with the worst teeth for like that is the white tiger, but the bull shark is the more aggressive. So even though it's smaller, it can like do more damage because it'll bite like more ferociously. And Rick Sanchez points out that he has had interactions with both lightning and sharks every single Friday at midnight. So yeah, that's brilliant stuff. BLT also points out that shark interactions are dangerous. Yeah, they're certainly a very, very high risk. And with that, we have some more super chats. I'm just going to bring them up here behind the scenes because I can't bring them up. Oh, the newest one I can. Raymond Hoey says, good morning, Andre, Tom, and Rrrr. Great to see all of you. Shark interaction? Really? What's next? Jellyfish massage? Yeah, they're also pretty horrible.
Yeah, I think it's just a misinterpretation of behavior, and there are a lot of animal behaviorists out there who want to be able to classify, you know, these behaviors and use that in further studies. But I think this one is not going to, you know, have any real standing power as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I think that this one is like too fun to be taken seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And then moving on with the super chats, Pilgrim Media said, these are the ones I can't bring up on screen. Midnight's Edge. Instead of clapping, the woke have to do jazz hands now. LOL.
Is clapping too violent now?
Oh, it's been
Yes.
for a long time. Don't you remember, like, for instance, when I think it was like the Democrat Socialist Youth of America or something like that. That was like, there was like this video with them trying to get through a session with all the personal privileges and everything like that. And the first thing they said, no one clap because it might be like dangerous to people who are like neurodivergent or something. So just like flail your arms if you want to clap.
Oh dear.
That's the world we live in. And this is coming from a father of an autistic son. Instead of saying, maybe you shouldn't bring your kid to a place who is, or anybody who's, audibly, upset by loud noises or quick, loud noises, things like that. Instead, no, everybody else has to childproof the rest of the world for one person. It's gotten ridiculous. Like I didn't get to go and do a lot of things with my kid. Why? Because I knew either he would be triggered by something or he would be the one triggering everybody else. It's just the sacrifice you make. It's ridiculous. I don't know why you would even do that.
Yeah. And then, like a bill says, "Rrrr Mmm, take my money." Midnight's Edge Crew, keep up the good work.
Thank you for being here.
Try.
Thank you.
And then Elijah Snow says, well, Mangold proves that there's still cocaine in Hollywood given his lack of recollection. Just no capitalism.
No, cocaine don't do that.
Yeah. And Hypergiver 2 says, happy fade in Friday. And with that, we should be reasonably caught up. So
if he was on cocaine, I just wanted to say, if he was on cocaine, he wouldn't be on Twitter. He'd be making that goddamn movie.
Yes, so you're saying that he maybe should have some more of that?
Yes. And then he'd be like, here, Harrison, this will take care of that. And Harrison will be like, fuck yeah. Well, nothing's wrong with my arm.
But Tom, with that, did we have any more
did we get these ones
news?
here?
No, because they came in most recently. Let's do those.
Yeah, real quick.
Says for $5 sharks are evolutionary optimized as killing machines. Can't even swim backwards. Other super optimized creature is the crocodile. Yeah, that would be why like none of them have changed in the slightest, like the last 10 million years.
Yeah, they're one of the oldest creatures that hasn't evolved all that much because they were made as perfect killing machines from the start.
They were perfect at one point. There's like no reason to then continue to change on perfection all that much. And Joachim Stark says for 50 Swedish krona, it was better in the past when people took baby seals clubbing. Ooh, as a Norwegian, that one hurts.
Ouch. But that's a double entendre now, isn't it?
Yeah, my people were the ones doing that.
No, but I know, but like you can take one to the club. Just don't club them.
Right. Clubbing, not hurting them. Clubbing, dancing.
Taking them dancing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not what my people did.
I know.
Let's move on.
We're trying not to remind people.
With that though, of course, had to be a sweet reminder of Norwegian sins. But yeah, that's all good and well.
Then you guys also had the Free Willy thing too.
That was hilarious.
I know it was, but it's still kind of sad and hilarious at the same time. Poor kid.
That's just a beautiful story. Are you familiar with that story? With what happened with Free Willy?
I've heard it. I think you were speaking about it last week, if I'm correct.
No, actually, it's been like a little bit longer. But yeah, I think I told Robert Marbonette in a stream where we both were. Yeah. But just to reiterate, since we started with it, you're all familiar with the movie Free Willy, in which you have this moment where Willy, the killer whale, or orca, which is the more scientific name, he jumps the fence into the ocean and he's free. Well, there were plenty of people that thought this was a very beautiful movie, but they reacted to the whale actor playing Willy, him still being in captivity in SeaWorld. And before we continue, hey, Paulie, greetings. How's it going?
Going good. How's my audio?
Bit choppy, but all right.
It'll do.
It'll probably catch up.
Yeah.
Well, I actually just wanted to come in for a minute and say a couple things.
Go for it.
because I'm actually out in the field doing a 2-day job, so I got to get back to it. But hello, nice to see you on
Hello,
the show.
Paul. Yes.
I'll see you later tonight on the karaoke show.
Absolutely.
But you know, Tom and Andre, and to the entire chat, first of all, thank you to everyone in the chat that contributed and gave money to the Stand and Deliver panel fundraiser with Eddie Almos, Mr. Almos, and we put that video up, and it's the response has been massive. As far
Yes,
as
and I
just,
also, and to those wondering, it's on Paul's channel, Latino Slant. Plus, it's also the link to it is in the Midnight Edge community link. So if you check the most recent community post, you'll find the link to that video right there.
so yeah, and thank you for that, guys. So that's my first thing I wanted to say was first, muchísimas gracias to all the people in the chat, to the Midnight Edge community that was just so awesome. We've raised $5,600 for between those two panels. But you know, Andre, the response, the comments have been amazing, and they're all mainly from non-Latinos praising Eddie Almos, right? Then I'm hearing the news of how everyone's excited about Banderas and Indiana Jones. And I start thinking, you know, as far as Latinos being in film and being respected and being this, you know, there's a wocoso way that thinks that it hasn't been done, or we're so underrepresented, mamadas. Because I think of, well, we've arrived. I mean, look at the reaction. Look at the praise and the excitement that these two actors have brought to us. And I can't help but just be so full of pride that these two men and their careers have entertained the entire world. You know, Luis Valdez, the writer-director of Zoot Suit and La Bamba, he once said, "I write for the universe." And I just, you know, it just dawned on me when Tom was talking about it, and then the people in the chat, we won, meaning that we're a part of the entertainment mainstream world, and that's a big deal, guys. And I just you know, and then seeing the reaction to the thank you video, I'm just full of a lot of emotion and just you know, praise to you guys, the community. And I just wanted to give that insight to the wocosos who think that you know, this is how you get it done. You work your ass off like these two gentlemen have throughout their careers, and look at the roles and the praise and the respect that they continue to gain. It's truly amazing. And Rita Moreno as well with her documentary, and she executive produced West Side Story this year. So
Right.
I just wanted to say that, Andre. I really appreciate you guys, man. I got to get back to work, but I just wanted to say that to everyone. You guys are amazing. Keep demanding excellence from Hollywood, and we're getting it, man. And that's it, fellas.
Well, thank you for the kind words. And Troy Pacelli says you're right on target, Paulie. And we thank you for taking the time out to hop in, and we appreciate it, man.
Exactly, and we couldn't have done any of that without you. So it's a team effort of bringing out the positivity and, dare I say it, the real non-forced natural diversity that we all should embrace.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, it's there. It's interwoven, Andre, and is it a big deal for me? You bet your ass. I'm the Latino slant. That's what you know. I want to share all the beauty and excitement that the culture has. So, anyways, I've talked enough. I will be listening. I'm gonna get back on my job here, my 2-day job that I'm grateful for. Much love, you guys, and to the chat.
Well, you take care of yourself, Polly.
Bye, Polly.
All right, brother.
Love you,
Okay,
brother.
Bye.
Yes. Much
You
love.
as
And
well.
Take care.
Love you guys.
speaking of love, we got some love from the chat here from Willie. Willie Woodward sends in a $1.99 super chat. Thank you so much. He's also a member. Says, hello, Chad, Andre, Tom, and beautiful. He's such a
Thank you,
flirt.
Willie. Thank you so much.
Such a flirt. But anyway, you were telling us a story, Andre, about Willie. So
Yes.
people thought it was a beautiful movie. They wanted Willie free, so they wanted to actually literally free Willie. You were
Yes,
saying.
exactly. Because the actor, the whale actor playing the whale Willie
named
was the
Kiko, I
very
believe.
real life. Yeah, exactly. It's the real life Kaiko, who was an orca in captivity in SeaWorld. And many people thought that it was horrendous that this particular orca that had then gotten freed in the movie was still in captivity in SeaWorld, keeping tourists entertained and stuff. So a lot of activism was done, and millions of dollars were raised to train Kaiko. Because here's like the thing: orcas are social animals, and if they have to like learn to hunt and stuff like that to fend for themselves. And if you're like born in captivity, which I believe Kaiko was, or he was caught at such a young age that he didn't have any instincts left. He had to be retrained. So millions was spent retraining Keiko to be able to fend for himself out there in the wild. And after many years and much retraining, he was then released into the waters around Greenland, where it was hoped that he would find some other orcas, maybe find a nice female orca and get a family and stuff like that. But Kaiko hadn't been raised with other orcas other than the ones in captivity. He had been raised by humans. So he missed the human company. So one of the first things that he did after being released was to seek out human company. So he went to the coast of Norway. And Norway, much to my shame, is a country that still practices whale hunting. Although there are quotas and it's heavily regulated and stuff like that, we still do whale hunting, to my eternal shame. I did not vote for it, so sorry about that, everyone. But anyway, so the fjord that he went to, the town that he found, that was then the city where he settled in Norway was whale hunting city #1 in the world. Like where a lot of people are really gung-ho whale hunters. That's where he settled. And of course, the families and the kids there, they loved it. They fed him and they played with him and had a jolly good time. But the whale hunters there, they really felt like whale burger. They didn't want to free Willy, they wanted to eat Willy, because that would be extra cool, to watch the movie Free Willy while actually eating Willy burger. But luckily, the common sense won out, so it was made very clear from the local populace and authorities and everything else that particular whale was not to be touched. So the story does have a reasonably happy ending in that Kaiko spent the rest of his days in Whale Hunter Bay, Norway, having fun with the local populace and everything, till he eventually died of natural causes.
Wow.
So there.
But he had a happy ending. So because the people there loved him. And so he was fed, he got to play with everyone and everything.
And look at that. Rrrr Mmm. She even freezes.
That's a very unusual story.
She even freezes with great images. Look
but
at
a good one. I mean, it just goes to show you the impact that animal had on the population. I mean, he had such an influence over their behavior, and if in the end it worked out, then great. But that is quite a story, Andre. It's just amazing. That's an amazing story.
Well, it wasn't the movie. It was the damn Michael Jackson song that did it.
Can you guys still hear me?
We can
Yes,
hear you,
yeah, we hear you.
but I think she can't hear us.
Yeah, no, we hear you. We hear you just fine. So it's all is well. But anyway, so that's then the real story of the real Willy, played by Kaiko. Died of natural causes, but lived happy till the end of his natural lifespan
I
in
think
Whale
that
Hunter Bay, Norway.
I think it would have turned out very differently if he were in the United States. I think it would have
Oh,
been a
yeah.
different story.
Yeah. And Michael Miller wonders, was he subjected to a negative encounter? And no, as far as I know, 100% of encounters and interactions were positive.
With
Like
Willie?
the people there with Willie, the people there loved him. So
How
he
many
was
sharks
taken.
did Willie kill, though? How many negative interactions did he have with sharks?
That we do not know, but there were no sharks in that particular fjord, at least not that we know of. And if there were, they didn't. Well, of course they might. There are blue sharks in Norwegian waters, but to the extent of my knowledge, there was no interactions between those. So it was all just fun and games, literally fun and games, playing with the local kids there and being fed there.
We forgot to tell everybody, as Jason Gray reminded me here, the other term they wanted to go for if they couldn't get, the negative encounter was the interaction. Yeah, so there's two different terms they were willing to go with. So interaction or encounter, not attack. So
okay, so an encounter, is that a positive interaction?
Fuck if I know. Depends on if the aliens probe you or not, I guess.
Yeah, but how far are they going to go with the attack? Taking attack out of the equation. Is it going to pervade everything? Is it going to go into law enforcement? Will it go into?
That's a good question.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be a disaster if that was something that became adopted into just normal society? I think that they're trying to redefine the word, but they didn't have to kill off the original word. That was unnecessary. Go ahead and create a new behavior. Create a new behavior.
And as as somebody pointed out yesterday in our chat when we were talking about, but this is something George Carlin would have a field day with. That's exactly it. Like we're getting to a point where Clown World has gotten completely insane. Like there's a reason for these words. They exist for a reason. Like I said, you should be afraid of a shark. You should be afraid of a tiger. You should be afraid of something that will attack you. That word sounds bad and it gets it gets your attention for a fucking reason.
Yes, but the story that Andre just told us about the whale just goes to show you that we have so much more to learn, and we shouldn't be trying to redefine stuff unless we're absolutely sure we know what we're talking about. I mean, that goes to show you that there's a lot more about animal behavior that scientists themselves want to learn, but to create something that's probably not true, I don't know whether there's even any evidence to support what they're saying. This is, you have to be very careful. To introduce the idea of it is one thing, but then to go ahead and try and change it, enact that is a completely different situation altogether.
Yeah, well, and not to in a similar kind of ish situation, but not to get directly into what it's about. For those who may remember, Kirstie Alley was getting a bit of heat last week for bringing up a point. And that's kind of going off of what you're saying. You start changing the definitions of words and keep changing things and how things are viewed on certain things. Like sooner or later, things are going to cross the line into areas they shouldn't. And, this is where it's like you're getting to a point where, this may seem like a little thing, but it's going to start carrying on into more and more important things to where we're more accepting of things we shouldn't necessarily be. But I'm not getting down that avenue because I'm sure most of you know what I'm talking about, and if you don't, I apologize. I'm just not getting into it because the YouTube monsters don't like it. Willie Woodward coming again with another super chat, says field many gaslights that day.
Yes.
What's he talking about? Oh, Willie. Anyhow, there was a bit of other news Andre was saying, and this is something that we thought we'd get it to earlier, but we've had so much fun just chit-chatting about everything else in Indiana Jones and shark interactions, positive interactions or negative, either or. Do you remember, Andre, when they had talked about having Doctor Strange and Black Widow?
Yes, I remember that with great frustration.
Yes, and do you recall exactly what their story behind taking him out was?
I remember that too. And it even came from Kevin Feige himself. Now, I do not recall the exact words, so I'm paraphrasing here. But what they decided was that it would be wrong because Wanda is a woman. And because she is a woman, you cannot have a white man come up towards the end of the movie and be like, here, now I'll show you how magic is done. So for that reason, they couldn't have Doctor Strange in WandaVision. So not only did they screw us all over by not having Mephisto, they also screwed us over by not having Doctor Strange. And it's funny, isn't it, that that no other series or any other character have to like take such considerations. If it was like a male character, they wouldn't think twice about having Doctor Strange come in and save the day towards the end there. It's just because it was Wanda. But anyway, that's the gist of the story. And WandaVision was worse for it. But this brings us up to current events. Tom, what's a current event?
Well, it's not an isolated incident anymore, is the current event. Recently, in an interview with Entertainment Weekly, or at least it was picked up by Entertainment Weekly, Tony Stark was initially in Black Widow. At least the script, anyway. Director Kate Shortland has also discussed her stance on having other Avengers pop up in the film, telling Total Film that Marvel head honcho Kevin Feige agreed on a decision to leave them out. So this comes from Kate Shortland via Kevin Feige. Initially, there was discussions about having everything about all of the different characters, said Shortland. What we decided was that Kevin and I think what we decided was, and I think Kevin was really great. He said she doesn't need the boys. He didn't want to feel like she needed the support. We want her to stand alone, and she does. And then I guess later on that he confirmed that Tony Stark was supposed to show up in the film at one point, but didn't want to mansplain things to Black Widow. Let me see if I can find that quote exactly. But yeah, it's just a bit alarming to see this continue to happen again and again and again. And as we pointed out before many times, Black Widow was actually filmed and done and over with before these Disney series were going.
Yes.
But aren't they supposed to be working as a team? I don't understand why there would be any confusion about that. I mean, aren't they working together?
That's a good point. Yeah, it just to me, this is why is this a problem? I mean, isn't that kind of the charm of the MCU, is seeing all these characters interact?
Well, it used to be, but now it's evidently it's a matter of before any characters can interact, we have to make sure that it doesn't look like a character or a side character is mansplaining anything to the lead character. Or to any other character. And if that's a consideration that goes into it, which evidently it is, then we are regrettably in a situation where the final product is being compromised on the altar of political correctness. Because that's what's happening here. Here you are basically saying that the story calls for this. This is something that has always worked in the past. Whenever, like when you have had like a cameo of another character or stuff like that showing up, it's typically like 100% success rate. Everyone loves it. And now when you don't have it out of some worry that you can't do that, you can't have a male character come up and explain anything to a female character, because according to our current political dogma right here in this town where this is being filmed, we can't do that. Well, then you are screwing up the entertainment product for the rest of the world and for all time, due to something that was in vogue right where you were filming at the time when you were filming.
Yeah, and sadly, this feels like another strike against the film, in my opinion, because not to get too deep into it, because I see a few people in the chat who haven't watched the film yet, so I don't want to get into spoilers, but we covered earlier this week the other bit of news revolving around this film, and we all agreed that the other version would have been better. Why did you do this? So, like, here's another kick against the movie, because the movie was actually decent until the end, and that's where the changes came in. And I'm assuming that's where the Robert Downey Jr. cameo probably would have come in as well. And Omar El Begawai, if I'm saying that right, sorry if I'm not, brings up a very valid point. Says, I wonder how much it would have cost to have RDJ and Black Widow. Maybe the budget also was against him in the movie. I would be saying that could be a possibility, but we got it straight from the mouth of the director, from Kevin Feige's mouth, that that's not the reason. If that was the case, again, like, I would understand that a little bit more, but this was clearly, this was done on purpose, and it probably wouldn't have cost much to have RDJ for a day to film a cameo.
Right.
Yeah, probably. Like, we know that they've been willing to work with him before, and he's also willing to work with them. So if there was a will, there would have been a way. But before they even got to the negotiating table, it was clear the will wasn't there.
Yeah. Duralon says, is that a personal negative interaction or something? Brie Larson.
But I'm wondering, especially at the end at WandaVision, where it seemed obvious that it would have been nice to have had Doctor Strange there, because they seem to indicate in the story that, Wanda was still learning, she needed to grow, and, whatever the journey is, she needed someone to help her. I mean, the interaction between her and Agatha was okay, but it kind of would make sense to have that other person who might have been able to give her some pointers without, a hidden agenda. So, like, you miss out on that interaction. It's real life. I don't want to think of her by herself in that cabin. She's okay. It's just that I think it could have enhanced it a little bit.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I mean,
good point.
Yeah, and I mean, it would have been a bit of a surprise, considering, maybe would have got more insight or something that we wouldn't have got out of this film, because my whole thing was that, not to get into spoilers, but this movie failed to tell me why it should be now instead of when we all have said it should have been, in place of Captain Marvel. Like, now, this should have been Captain Marvel instead. These should have been flip-flopped. I see zero reason why that is the case, and without, maybe Tony's bit would have been something like, oh, okay, you didn't want us to know this till now. Okay. See, I didn't get one of those moments in the entire movie.
Yeah, no, because it was like a pure accident. It's just poor planning from their end. And I do believe they have released a number of their movies in the wrong order. I mean, just look at Ant-Man 2, Ant-Man and the Wasp. I still say
that should have been before Infinity War. Yeah, I think we agreed on that one. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, I don't know that there is much more to say about that particular story, is it? So let's get caught up on the super chats and move on to the next, because I'm sure there's been other stories in the week. Most recent super chat is from Willie Woodward again, who says, theory: Feige knew Captain Marvel tanked and was overcorrecting with Black Widow movie. People been wanting a Black Widow film since Phase 2 and lost opportunity with Captain Marvel. Oh, hell yeah. That was such a mistake to make that movie. And then we have, let's see. Yeah, we got that one from Durao on. I'm just going to check that we haven't missed anything here behind the scenes. And then we'll move on to the next story of the day and of the week. Hypergiver 2 said in best seal voice, I'll take a Canadian club. And Willie Woodward also says, hello, chat, Andre, Tom, and the beautiful Rrrr Mmm. And with that, we are caught up. So, Tom, what's next on the list of stories?
You tell me. I don't know. I think
okay, fine. Then we are caught up with news stories. What else has happened this week? Because as I said, this is slow news day.
Well, without getting into like spoilers of Black Widow, it's a little more difficult. We already talked about a lot of that stuff where, we know that there was a male actor in place of another actor as far as stunt goes, without giving too much away. But, other than that, Douglas Nelson has pointed out that it's not too hard to do anything with CGI. So there you go.
Yeah, exactly. I do hope that Indiana Jones will be at least slightly better than that, though. And someone else is wondering what's going to happen with Kang. Did you watch Loki, the series?
Yes, I did watch it. I liked it.
Without spoiling anything, what did you think about the ending and the villain that was revealed there? Fuck it. Spoiler alert, it was Kang the Conqueror. And spoilers. Uh, are you excited for what might happen next in the MCU now with Kang the Conqueror established as probably the main baddie for Phase 4?
Well, I had some very interesting thoughts about the series as a whole, but first off, the first thing that I was going to say is, after I watched the season finale, I was kind of put off when they kind of flashed it, saying that there was going to be a season 2, because I was still trying to wrap my head around everything that had happened in that last episode. And then I kind of felt like they were just wanting to let you know that season 2 was coming, but I wasn't ready for that. It felt rushed to me. I knew a season 2 was coming, but I didn't need to be reminded at that very moment after so much and so many important things had happened. So, so after I got over the initial shock of that, I overall, I feel like I would have liked to have seen more interaction between some characters. There was a character that was working against Loki, and then it seems like they became friends. And then what I wanted to see was more of that interaction, and we didn't get that, and I wanted to see more of that. So that was something that I think they should have played up on a little bit more. The other thing that I was going to say is that there seemed to be a lot of machinations when the bad character, the evil character, was trying to explain things to Loki, and I thought it was okay, but I think it could have been done in a different way. And the explanation alone was a lot to absorb in the short amount of time. So they had to wrap it up quickly because they only had that one last episode, I guess, to do it. But I think that I think it could be good if in the next series they actually address, what they left hanging, and there was a lot that we still don't know. So I felt they could have answered a few more questions, like the TVA question, the biggest question. When we first started to see the series, I thought that the TVA reminded me, and I think you might have mentioned this in one of your videos, Andre and Tom. They reminded me of a company out of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yes.
Like the way that they operated, and the way that even the characterizations of some of the computer simulations reminded me very much of it. The attitude towards it, the paperwork that he had to sign, where he had to stamp and agree that this is what was said, and it was in triplicate or whatever. It had a feel of that, and that's okay. It's just that I feel like they didn't really fully explain how it was created, and people wanted to know how and why it was created. It is true that we got an explanation from the bad person or the evil character in the story, but it still doesn't explain to us how all this was done, because this must have taken a long time, and he couldn't just be the only person involved in this. So
about 1 million lifetimes, I think he said. But,
yes.
Yeah.
But do we believe it was one person just doing, like, could it really be just one person?
No, that's why he founded the TVA. He got like that thing, and then he got an idea, and then he founded the TVA and gradually staffed that, and had them help basically run the operation. So it was like one man with the plan, but he was not alone in executing it. I mean, that's why he even needed the two of them to take over when he wanted to retire, enjoy his old days, which of course he's not going to.
And so we had, let's say his pseudo accomplice, or someone who we believe is his accomplice, but not entirely confirmed that he's possibly, she's possibly an accomplice there. And she didn't feel completely connected to him, but it seemed like she had, an ulterior motive. I mean, I feel like she seemed to be, obviously she was the main character interacting with Mobius, but and with everyone too, but she didn't feel connected to the timekeepers.
She was just a really good follower. She had
I
no idea. She was
suppose.
just like committed to an idea and just stuck with that without her being like a master plan or something like that. Just a really, really good follower.
So then if she was, let's say, wanted to climb to the top and become one of the best agents out there, she seemed to be able to sort of like have a plan B or C when everything seems to be falling apart. So I have a feeling there's a little bit more to her than what we've been told. And clearly she didn't share any information. So we just got to watch what she was doing, but we didn't really get a full explanation from her. And she might be the one who has all the information that we want. But I felt like they could have disclosed a little bit more on her behalf because, she has all the files. She has the documents and everything that has the answer in them, but we didn't
Yeah,
get to
well,
see
does it though? Does it really have the answer? That's the question.
Yeah,
That
that
is
is a
the
good
question.
question.
Yeah.
That is a good question.
And we have another big story that happened this week. But before then, Hypergiver 2 says, calling it now, Dragon Con will be crawling with TVA agents, Loki and Kang this September, all because the TVA is the Hyatt in Atlanta. I have no idea what that means, but I hope it made sense to some of you. And let's see if there's any more here to bring up, or if that was the last one before we get into the big story that happened this week. It was so big that I had completely forgotten it until I went back to the earlier thumbnails just to check what did we talk about earlier in the week.
Right.
And yeah, we are caught up. So one of the things that we did talk about earlier this week is that Star Trek 4 has been announced again for, I think, the 12th time or something like it. Rrrr Mmm. You are frequently on Robert Meyer Burnett's channel. Do you share his love of Star Trek?
I certainly do share the love of Star Trek. I love Star Trek. I grew up with it. My favorite series is Deep Space Nine, DS9. I love it. Yes, I do share the love.
So your favorite series is not any of the Secret Hideout series, then?
Yeah, that is correct. I loved DS9. I thought it was like a very fresh take on Star Trek, and it also incorporated a lot of characters from other series in it. So it was fun, and I enjoyed it very much. I still love it. I love it.
Yes. Well, that's very, very cool to hear. So since you love Star Trek, how excited are you that Star Trek 4 has been re-announced yet again? Maybe it's happening this time.
Well, I'm going to be cautiously optimistic. It's kind of too bad that we haven't had what we're all kind of waiting for from Star Trek, and I know different people have different expectations, but at seeing the history of Star Trek and how wonderful the series, all the series have been, some have strengths and weaknesses, but overall, we're expecting to have that feeling and that emotion when we see these episodes or a movie, and we haven't really been getting the same level of storytelling that we've gotten in the past. So if there was some miracle, that it could produce the quality level of work that we all have had before, I'm fine with it. But it's been a bumpy road over the past few years with some of the work that's come through, and it's really too bad, because some of the cast, looking at these cast members and crew members who are working really hard to make it work, the scripts are the things that define it, and they haven't been what I've hoped for.
Yeah, I think that they have been what very few hoped for. I will say, I think that the initial 2009 reboot was off to a good starting point, and they could do wonders from that starting point. Now, more than a decade later, they didn't do wonders from that starting point. So now we've gotten like the 12th or something iteration of Star Trek 4. The question is, will this one happen, or is it yet another funding pitch like all the previous ones? And that is personally what I am inclined to believe that it's going to be. We'll see if they have the money. If they have been able to secure the money one way or the other, this thing is going to happen. And if they haven't, it won't. So it's really that simple. That 70s Bush, I have to say, I really, really love that particular username. So massive kudos for that. Anyway, that 70s Bush says, did the Chinese run out of money, or why isn't this funded yet? It's actually funny you mentioned that, because in 2016, Beijing did some changes in the legislation. There was a time when every single movie out of Hollywood was co-funded in big part by Chinese studios. And China loves its soft power, let there be no doubt about that. However, everything has a price, or there's only so high a price they're willing to pay. And there in 2016, there were so many bumps and so much Chinese money was lost in American movies. And two movies in particular lost China or Chinese investors a crap ton of money. Those two were Monster Trucks, and the other was Star Trek Beyond, both from Paramount. Those two movies in particular led the charge in a year with many losses, which led to Beijing changing legislation so that it was much, much more difficult for Chinese companies to invest in American productions. So because of that, China did not run out of money, no, but the Hollywood studios, to a very large extent, ran out of Chinese money that they could access to make movies. And since they could no longer rely on Chinese funding to get Star Trek IV off the ground, you've seen one pitch after another, and all of these announcements have been just that. They've been pitch documents, pitch decks, if you will, for investors stateside, and so far none have bit. But they could at any time, and the moment that someone bites, that's when the movie is going to happen. So with that, we'll just have to wait and see if this iteration will get made, or if it will go the way of all previous Star Trek IV iterations. With that, what else is on your mind?
Just the Emmy announcements. I've been looking over the particular shows that have been nominated over and over again, and I was happy that The Mandalorian was nominated. But I just wanted to get a sense of what you both thought about some of the other nominations, and why some of the other shows were picked, in your opinion.
I wish Tom, I think, had to go out with a dog or something.
Okay.
I'm back. What was the question?
Okay, yeah. Your takes on the Emmys. What was behind some of why some of the candidates were motivated or nominated for the Emmys? The Emmys itself hasn't been, but we know the nominees now. And why were some of these projects nominated in the first place? Like WandaVision was nominated really heavily right before the director was announced for the new Star Trek IV, which we just talked about. That's probably not going to happen unless they found the money for it.
Well, the one motivated the other more so than the other. As far as the Emmys, they're just like every other award show. They're already a bunch of circle jerks, and then you got, the situation now is they're trying to virtue signal on top of a circle jerk, so it's pretty fucking revolting, and just it's off-putting. I mean, I think that the ratings for all of the award shows in the last few years kind of proves where people are at with this. I think that you know, they lost the idea of what these things were about. And as far as the Emmys go, they're like the ones that care. Like the only thing that people care less about than the Emmys are the daytime Emmys. Like like these are like the lowest of the totem pole. Like I think more people give a shit about the Tonys anymore. You know, I really do. As far as like the virtue signaling aspect of it, that's all it is. All these people being nominated, a lot of the shows that got attention. I was surprised Cobra Kai got the attention it did, but then again, you know, you got Don Cheadle getting a nomination for a 90-second cameo. So go figure on that. And you tell me why he got a nomination outside of what? I have no idea. So unless he was that pinnacle in the show, I don't understand. I haven't watched Winter Soldier and Falcon, so I have no idea.
Well, we shall just have to wait and see who wins out in the end. But yeah, there were some weird picks in the Emmys. I will say that without making any more speculation about it. I'm not too excited about the award show though, or the ceremony, but that's just me. I don't know about you. What's your take on the Emmys this year?
Well, they had particular shows like The Crown, and they had the Queen's Gambit, which I was expecting to see nominated, as well as Mayor of Easttown, which stars Kate Winslet, which I predict is probably going to win. But I was very surprised to see some of the other nominations, only because you know, the shows were not, in my opinion, as good, and probably shouldn't have been nominated. But you know, I'm just astounded at how the selection process is going, and I'm wondering if the selection process was influenced by some of the restrictions or some of the new rules that they're trying to push onto you know, studios and filmmakers to qualify for certain awards.
Yeah, it's good points all around. Tom, anything to say to that?
No, I think it's just one of those things where I think I said the most I can say about it, and says it much more eloquently than I can, as do you. So, yeah, I don't think I can add any more on that point.
Yeah. With that, do we have any more news that happened today or this last week?
Outside of getting a trailer for I Am Not Starfire that's like 30 seconds long and they turn the replies off on, no. Chucky, they're ramping up the Chucky series. That's getting a bit more talk. Entertainment Weekly just released a look at the newest, the first look at Chucky from the series. That's about one of the bigger things we got here. If you guys want to see that quick.
Yeah.
I mean, he looks like he always does, so that's what's great. I mean, it's Chucky. There you go. It's Chucky.
Yeah, that looks familiar.
Looks just like he always does. Yeah. So
yeah.
It starts October 12th. That's the other thing we learned. So I'm excited. I actually have the first script. I haven't read it yet, though. I don't want to.
Well, I'm sure you already have it marked in your calendar. So
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I want to avoid it because I just want to see it. You know what I mean? Like I part of me wants to read it, but I'm like, I just want to see it.
Yeah.
And for those who don't know, this has a lot of the same people who've been behind the series for the last, you know, since the beginning. And yeah, so this is going to be the one that I think people will enjoy if you're a Chucky fan. Outside of that stupid remake we got. Did we get this super chat here as well?
We did not. I was about to bring it up. Russell Whitfield says, seeing Rrrr Mmm live on a few streams lately. Any chance of her doing her own channel or show? So, Rrrr Mmm. Any plans of joining us YouTube creators?
I have to think about that. I haven't really made a decision or truly asked myself if that's what I'm going to do. So right now, no, but it would be great to just continue to enjoy, you know, YouTube as a whole in the community, because you see, I kind of started off really looking at entertainment in the music scene. And for many years, you know, I went into music journalism. And then after the music journalism part, when YouTube first came out, I noticed that YouTube had an incredible amount of music, like a music library that, could not be matched anywhere else on earth. And they had, old tracks and things that I wanted to listen to. And so that's what got me interested in going onto YouTube and trying to get more involved with YouTube. And so, as I progressed and kept watching music on YouTube, the videos also grabbed my attention. And I was a gamer for a while, and I watched a lot of walkthroughs and stuff. But, I've always been a fan of Star Wars and Star Trek. And so then I started to think to myself, I'd love to, find out more about making YouTube videos and being on streams. But, obviously, this led to me being on more streams, as you said. But, right now I'm not starting my own channel as of today, but I enjoy the streams. I enjoy the community. I like, for example, this community on Midnight's Edge. I think this is fantastic what, Andre, you have done, and Tom. And I just really enjoy having that community to interact with and enjoy, entertainment genre. So as of right now, I'm just going to enjoy getting invited on, like today, and streaming with Robert Meyer Burnett on Midnight Metal. And so as of right now, I'm just going to keep going in stride and continue with what I'm doing right now. So no, I don't have a channel right now, but I'm just enjoying the moment.
We'll see what time will bring. Will you be on with Burnett at his Midnight's Metal later tonight?
I certainly will be on yes, I'll be on the Burnett work with Robert Meyer Burnett on Midnight Metal. I'm his co-host on the Friday show. And, it's obviously, we talk about, toys, comics, movies, TV, music, all these fun things, but with a certain edge to it. So yes, I will be on continuing on that stream tonight.
Very cool. So everyone do check out Robert Meyer Burnett's channel later tonight for more Rrrr Mmm. And then this says for $5, is Invincible nominated for its shocking ending? If not, forget the Emmys. I have no idea. Tom, is Invincible nominated for its shocking ending?
I'm not sure. I have not seen it, but I've heard a lot about it. I've heard that it's a pretty decent show. So, I'm not totally sure why, but if it's not heavily politically driven, then it's probably the cause. Usually they put up certain episodes for nomination. I don't know how it all works with the Emmys. I'd have to actually get into it. And too bad we don't have Script Doctor here today to help us out with that. He'd probably know more about it. So sorry I can't answer that more directly.
And then Mr. Tickletrunk says, Andre hasn't said it enough. So,
Mm. There you go.
Yeah,
Mr.
that is good stuff. And with that, I believe that we have given a fairly round coverage of what has gone down this week. Not a lot in terms of pure news.
Well, it's been
value.
mostly a holiday week, so
Exactly, but still, we had some good fun with you guys. We had some fun ourselves on the stream. It was a pleasure to have a Rrrr Mmm on.
Thank you.
And we got the great update from Paulie, and his thank you video, which you can find on his channel Latinos Land, where it's also linked to in the community pages here on Midnight's Edge. So yeah, do check that out. Oh, Stephen Otten says we missed one of his. Okay,
did we? Oh no, let's take a look.
Yeah, let's take a look. You can't have that, can we?
Nope.
Tom, monitor the comments to see if we missed anything else. But I think not. But I shall have a quick check. And Stephen Otten said, "Oh yeah, here we go. Yeah, I see. I missed this one." Stephen Otten says, the Emmy nominations were all over the place. It's obvious they were just checking off boxes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Even Don Cheadle questioned why he was dominated.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nominated.
Exactly.
Nominated, not dominated. But
He wants to be dominated.
Well, I agree with you, Stephen Otten. There was no rhyme or reason to why people were nominated, and I also think that it's very confusing when you send a message that you're just gonna pick somebody because they fill a box, but it seems pretty clear that they had a specific way of picking everyone, and I don't think it was solely due to performance. I don't believe that, because even if Don Cheadle himself is saying that he doesn't know why he was nominated, that's an indication that something's a bit off.
And Rambam 3000 points out Don Cheadle being dominated was leaked on Pay Hub. So yeah, go look for that. Freudian slip scar. Oh, sometimes you can have fun with it. All right. So with that, then I do think that we have covered everything from the Indiana Jones director sticking his foot in his mouth some more, shark attacks not being so bad, they're just negative interactions, Star Trek, and everything else. So with that, I would like to say thank you to you, Rrrr Mmm, for having joined us today. It was a pleasure.
Yes. I have one other question for you guys, though.
Yes.
Have you been watching, I know maybe not Tom, but have you been watching The Bad Batch, and what's your opinion of that show?
No, I haven't really. I'm not. I have a tough time getting into a lot of the ancillary stuff unless it's something that really engages me. I tried watching Clone Wars and fell out early, but everybody's like, "Oh no, you got to watch it. You got to watch it in this order." So I have the box set and have never actually watched it all. I've watched a few episodes. I actually went to the theater to see that animated pilot episode, and I was very let down. It was like me and one other guy in the theater. I felt pathetic. It was. And yeah, so no, I haven't really gotten into it too much. I've heard good things as far as the Bad Batch. I know, the whole thing about introducing a little girl clone or whatever and stuff like that, but I haven't, not really on top of it. I've heard mixed to positive reviews, so I really wish I could give you a something, but no, it's just never been the Clone Wars cartoon to begin with was never something I was really that into. So by extension, the Bad Batch as well, it was not. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
And as for me, I don't watch animated Star Wars. I'm not that big a fan that I'll watch like animated stuff.
To be
There's
honest,
some properties that I'll do that for, but Star Wars is not among them. I mean, it has to have some really out of this world reviews for me to do that.
Honestly, I'd rather go back and watch Droids, which is on Disney Plus and HD now, than I would, just because for nostalgic value and whatnot. But yeah, no. Yeah. So sorry. Yeah, I wish I could have given you a better answer than that.
Well, I think there was a lot of great expectations of the series, not just because of the success of the Clone Wars, but also because of the success of the Mandalorian. And of course, we have high hopes for the series, and I think overall that most fans would say that they like it. But I'm not quite sure whether it necessarily has had the impact that the Clone Wars or the Mandalorian has had recently.
Oh, I definitely can see that. Like I don't see the impact that those had, or a better way of putting it. I agree with you there. Because no, I don't nearly get asked about it as much, and it's not as prominent. It seems like I haven't seen any toys for it even, which I can't believe they haven't done anything like that yet. So I don't even know if they exist.
Well, I was watching a stream the other day. A guy by the name of I think his name is called the Junkyard Man, and he pretty much looks at toys for all of these series, and he made a note about how for a popular series, like let's say even the Mandalorian, there aren't a lot of these toys that you would normally get where you get all the figures and everything. So even for the more popular show, unless you're going to purchase a sideshow figure, which is fine, or the Black series, we haven't seen as many of the other characters that were in the series that were very popular. So, it's very curious in a sense that even for their most popular series so far, let's say their most popular recent series, we're still not seeing a lot of that sort of stuff that we're looking for as fans, like the smaller figures and different things like that. So I
Right.
thought that that's still very interesting now that we're, 2 years past the point of when it premiered. But for the Bad Batch, I have heard a lot of people say that they felt like it was very repetitive in the sense that it kind of mimicked the dynamic and scenario that they saw in The Mandalorian. But initially with a child and sort of this renegade group on the run, but looking at the series now and trying to understand it might be something that you have to be in for the long haul again to understand the story. And I think that that's kind of a pattern that we've seen from Filoni before, because when he did season 7 of the Clone Wars, it started off, there were a few episodes that seemed very slow, and many fans were like, you can skip those. You don't really need those episodes. But to build up the momentum of the story, you kind of do need them, or else it will seem like a rushed story. So perhaps, it's his particular method of creating a series and making it believable and making it feel like, it's passing in a real life, realistic way. If you just, throw in every episode is not going to have the same impact, but I have a feeling it's going to be like that. But so far, I personally am not as moved by the Bad Batch as I was by, let's say, the Clone Wars season 7 and the Mandalorian for the past 2 years. So, but I'm still sticking in there because I like the series. I think that even though it's not what I expected and doesn't have the same passion in it right now, I'm just going to hold out and hope that the next few episodes will create that spark again.
Well, let's hope that they do. So good luck with that.
And on that Star Wars note, Daryl the Derelict asks, thoughts on Disney admitting Luke Skywalker is important. I saw a bit of that going out there. And Andre, if you'll allow me, I think this is in order.
I think so. Go for it.
I fucking knew it! Oh!
And I don't mean that just in a way like we said it, but like, no, we've talked with Cameron and other people who basically pointed out these things were going to happen. Yeah, this is part of the apology tour, as we like to call it.
Exactly.
It's them admitting to a point that something was wrong, but without doing it in a way that would vindicate any of us, of course.
And it's happening is also a sign that that Kathleen Kennedy and everything that she brought is well, not everything, obviously. They still have like their diversity offer and stuff like that, or diversity officer, I mean. But still, some of the more radical things that were brought to Star Wars is going ass first out the door.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, and we also have Max Relax sending us a super sticker. Thank you so much for that. I don't have up what it is here, so let me.
Well, I can find that out real quick.
Say if you can't by the time I do, one or the other.
Yeah, we'll see who can do it first.
It's a pair with a thumbs up.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. So we got that at the same time. Before that, Hypergiver 2 said, fade out drops bears in precipitation.
Koalas in the rain, koalas in the rain, no fucks given, koalas in the rain, koalas in the rain, no fucks given, koalas.